Hello everyone and welcome to ConnecTALKS Build Back Better in partnership with Positive Luxury. This session forms part of the official programme for our Connections Spring virtual event, and so to our delegates joining, I hope the event is going well so far. To members of Connections joining us today, as well as our friends from around the world, a warm welcome to you too. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Gemma Fitchett and I'm the Head of Marketing and Communications for Connections. As you know, Connections Luxury is the international private community for trusted decision makers in high-end travel. Everything we do is specifically designed in the Connections way of doing business, which is a pioneering networking concept combining one-to-one meetings and memorable experiences to forge long-lasting business relationships. So in the spirit of our ethos, I encourage you all to get involved and have your cameras on, ready to discover the person behind the profession. Before I introduce our guests, a bit of housekeeping. Today, I am joined by my colleagues, Michaela Jacob, Director and Founder of Connections, Evangeline Estrella, Head of Operations, and Greg Reeves, Commercial Director, who are behind the scenes sharing information, spotlighting our session, and will be interacting with you in the chat. Also, a shout out to any of the Connections team who are also joining us today. I'm sure you've all used Zoom before, but if not, please can I ask you all to place yourself on mute. This session will last up to an hour and is being recorded. So if you have any colleagues or friends who might find this ConnecTALKS useful, we will be distributing the talks in the coming days. Finally, as this session is live, anything can happen. So if for any reason we are disconnected, please bear with us and we will rectify as soon as we can. We are absolutely thrilled to be working alongside Positive Luxury to bring you today's ConnecTALKS with the aim to shed light on a very important subject. Sustainability has been present in many of our conversations over the past 12 months, particularly in light of the pandemic. So today, we hope to address the responsibility of leaders in the luxury space to inspire change and build back better. Of course, Positive Luxury are experts in this area, and we knew they would be the most brilliant partner to help us deep dive into this topic. They are, of course, the company behind the Butterfly Mark, a unique interactive trust mark awarded to luxury lifestyle brands in recognition of their commitment to having a positive impact on people and our planet. I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce Diana Verde Nieto, co-founder and CEO of Positive Luxury, who will be moderating and leading the discussion. Diana's entrepreneurial spirit, which was clear from the moment we met, has driven innovation in the way that brands communicate their commitment to social and environmental sustainability, enabling organizations to really unlock the value of their investment in this area. Diana is a globally recognized figure in the sustainability field, honored by the World Economic Forum as a young global leader in 2011. She serves on many advisory boards and was recently given an honorary professorship at Glasgow Caledonian University. What you might not know about Diana is that when she first came to England, she couldn't speak a word of English. Once she had learned how to speak English, her old boss at the BBC preferred it when she couldn't, so that was charming of him, of course. Diana will be joined by our three distinguished panelists who I'd like to briefly introduce now. Nabil Zadjali is the general manager of Al Bustan Palace. Nabil joined the hotel in Muscat in 2005 and is credited for his supporting role in a number of projects, including a major 18-month renovation that saw the hotel completely redefine its guest experience. With over 3 decades of experience across the public and private sectors, he has held a number of leadership roles and offers a solid track record in achieving business growth, high quality results, and strong financial performance. Nabil has participated in several committees within the tourism industry and was among the team who formed the Oman Tourism Strategy 2030. What you might not know about Nabil is he has 7 dogs. Nabil and his wife own a dog training school and run a number of fantastic initiatives, so he is kept truly busy. Our next guest is Vebjørn Andresen, who is the CEO of 62 Degree Nord, an experiential travel company and collection of boutique family-run hotels in Norway. Originally from the Arctic city of Tromsø, Vebjørn has worked in a hospitality business most of his life. Prior to joining 62 Degree Nord, he was in charge of Hurtigrutten's land-based operations on Svalbard, Spitsbergen. Vebjørn lived there for 7 to 8 years before moving south to Elsund, where he is currently living. What's not on his CV? Well, Vebjørn has had polar bears on top of his cabin roof, visiting for a late night snack. Very glad to say they were unsuccessful in their endeavour. Last but by no means least, Brian Gore is the Vice President of Brand Marketing and Digital of the Set Hotels. Having joined the group 6 years ago, Brian has played a pivotal role in building and developing the brand. Brian began his career with 7 years at the leading hotels of the world and has held key positions at a number of luxury brands and independent luxury properties, including Bulgari Hotels, Langham Hotels, and Mandarin Oriental. An innovator in how technology can transform his industry, Brian has always sought out disruptors and seeks innovative solutions to push hotel marketing and branding into the future. Fun fact about Brian is that he is a secret, or no longer secret, rock star. If anyone was to search hard enough on YouTube, they could probably find some brilliant footage, and I'll leave it at that. So welcome to all of our speakers, and thank you again for taking the time to be with us today. It's now time to begin, so Diana, it is with great pleasure that I pass the word to you.
Thank you very much, Gemma, and it's an incredible honor to be here this afternoon with you all, and thank you very much for taking the time. Of course, the pandemic has caused seismic, shocks across the world about how we people live, work, shop, and of course, travel. I mean, the shift to domestic tourism is something that is expected and is actually remain for the medium to the short to the medium term. But the thing is, consumers, I don't quite like the word consumer, so that's why I kind of, every time I said we after that. We as people want different. We have connected with the world in a completely different way since we actually stood still, nature have grown and flourished. So traveling to new places, engaging with different people and immersing ourselves in local cultures, this is still highly aspirational for everyone. Basically, although that world travel has stopped, this is actually something that in the long term is very much set to, kind of come back. So great news for everybody. Also, people have a much more sense of duty and actually exploring local communities. And there is a new buzzword that you will hear probably towards the end of this year, which is about regenerative tourism. And regenerative tourism is basically not anti-growth, but it's about working with brands in the places that they operate in order to actually bring the best, either socially or environmental, into that ecosystem. So overall, for the travel industry, it's been very hard, but I think in the kind of short to medium term, we are gonna go and actually do a great catch up for lost times. So get ready, because I think for the focus for Q4 and Q1 next year, if vaccines and obviously COVID is at bay, it will be great opportunity for the travel industry. And this obviously in a sustainable way. So the shift is that we've seen is the fact that consumers will be traveling with this I guess, aspiration of actually doing good when they do. So I think we are sending on to you for some questions. Gemma?
Yes, so we have 2 polls we'd love to ask you, actually. Interactive. So Greg, if you are able to release the first poll for us, the question is, do you believe that sustainability is critical to your business's success? Lots of you answering.
This feels like want to be a millionaire, so keep going, guys. Keep voting.
Almost all of you have answered. I'll give it 5 more seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, brilliant. So there we have the results. 61% of you believe it is critical to your business's success. 0.8% of you don't think it is, and 31% of you think it's somewhat critical to your business's success. So brilliant. Thank you everyone for answering. We have a second question for you, which is, do you have an active sustainability strategy currently in place in your business? Brilliant. Keep going. Just a few more. I'll give it another 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Wow, this is close. 43% yes, 30% no, and 28% think somewhat have an active sustainability strategy in place. There you go, Diana, over back to you.
Thank you. Well, this is interesting because the ones that said that sustainability is not something that is business critical really definitely need to rethink. And what's different this year is the fact that legislation is catching on. So before it was a lot of voluntary schemes, 2021 is going to be the year of legislation. So a lot of change politically, and that we've just seen in the US and so on, and also a lot of change in the legislative framework is only going to be, and of course, COP26 is going to really force businesses to rethink. The investment community has actually already rethink this sustainability side and started to invest as a whole, not just as specialist arm to businesses that are clearly demonstrated the investment in environmental, social, and governance frameworks. So that is called ESG. So if you haven't got your investment in sustainability or sustainability into your business roadmap, start now, because toward the end of the year is going to be a hygiene factor. I'd like to start with the first question to Brian. And in fact, I'm going to ask this question to everybody. But Brian, I'd like to start with you because Positive Luxury, we had the pleasure to be working with Set Hotel, Set Groups, and of course, Café Royale. Can you tell us a little bit about your sustainability?
Sorry, yes. Yeah, no, we are very excited and pleased to be working with Positive Luxury and have been now, I think, for a few years, right? It must be, I don't know, 3 years or 4, maybe even a little bit longer. But, you know, as a company, we're a small hotel collection, ultimately. We're privately owned, family run. And we are a value-led organization, you know. I think we believe in responsible business, which kind of covers everything from sustainability and beyond. So even how we interact with the community around us, but how we interact with the localities around our hotels as well, I think is incredibly important to us. And ultimately, personally, I definitely believe that we have an obligation really to kind of act for the benefit of society at large beyond just the business objectives. You know, I guess ultimately we're here to run a business and make money, and that's kind of a goal. But I think we have to look way beyond that. And luxury travel can be sustainable. I know we're going to come onto it a bit more and talk about it. But we encourage everybody within our organization to think sustainably, from our purchasing manager to our front of house staff to our marketing and sales teams. Think about how we travel ourselves, think about the need to travel, think about the need to purchase and consume. And as an organization, I mentioned it's family owned, so there's a real passion there. And then from the top down, we do very much believe in sustainability as the route forward, not just from being the right thing to do, but when we talk about Generation Z and what is important to them, the future of our business is going to rely on being relevant to those travelers.
Thank you very much. And there is a statistics there that says that actually Generation Alpha is to sustainability what millennials has been to technology. So this is not something that is about to go. I'd like to ask the same question to, I can never say your name, Vebjørn, because I know that you guys are doing a lot in this space as well.
Thanks for the question. It's Vebjørn. I think you're very close, so good effort. Our company is, I guess, quite similar to what Brian represents. It's also a family-owned company, and we're building for the future. We're building for generations. So we have a quite clear vision and a mission statement that says that we are building profitable businesses that is developing to a sustainable or a positive development of both the environment and the climate area, as well as for people and societies, the societies that we operate in. And Norway is a country with widespread population, and we have a lot of small societies with different cultures and all of that. And of course, we are trying to build up under that and strengthen the cultural aspect of Norway, and especially the scarce and the parts of Norway that is not very commonly visited by many people. We have divided our sustainability approach into the 3 Ps: the planet, the people, and the prosperity part. In terms of planet, we want to continuously search after and to implement sustainable solutions within our businesses. That's always our goal. And in terms of people, we want to make safe, inclusive, and competent employees a force in our joint effort in this sustainability work, in trying to make our business more sustainable. And of course, the prosperity part is that we are innovating for the next generation. As this is a family-owned company, there's obviously going to be a next generation that's going to take over this. And our opinion is that if we don't operate sustainable, then we have no right to operate at all, because we are not building for tomorrow or for next year or 10 years after. We're building for 50 years later, right? So unless we're operating sustainable, there's no way to operate at all, in our opinion.
Thank you very much. And yes, of course, ecosystem management is a must. And the same question goes to Nabil, because your hotels are in slightly different parts of the world.
Well, first, thank you for inviting me to be part of this group discussion. Our world is totally different compared to Europe, and how the maturity in terms of the perception of sustainability and its importance, to be very honest. Although, thank God, I mean, we're so part of the Ritz-Carlton Marriott group. So there is a lot of corporate initiatives, and part of the values is, you know, the sustainability is like an integral part of our culture. With a lot of measures recently in terms of like conservation of energy, conservation of water, reduction of waste, with all these different, and the new technology after we went through the renovation, we have sort of installed a lot of technological equipment, or what do you call it, gadgets, in order to measure how much saving we do in terms of power and water wastage. The idea is, it's not, yes, I agree 100% with sustainability. I agree that we are 100% responsible for the future generation. If we don't think sustainable, we should not be in business. That I agree, and I believe in it 100%. Government right now is essential for us to, in Oman, particularly in our part of the world, and that has been the initiatives and all the 5-year, you could say, development or execution now plans that are taking place. They do 100% legislate the environmental element and the conservation in all new buildings that are coming up, and they're seeking for international certifications. Like we've just finished, Oman has finished the almost $1 billion investment in a convention center that's LEED certified environment. And there's a few hotels that are coming up with the Marriott group in Oman that are 100% LEED certified with in terms of sustainability and energy conservation and all that. The challenge we face is not us as corporates. The challenge we face right now, because you're looking at domestic tourism, right? And that's what we're doing right now. So it is actually a cultural, the abundance. When people want to see a buffet, they want to see a full buffet. People have the habits of like pleasing the eye. So there's a lot of food wastage, which is what we're trying to do, is that we incorporate in the culture. It goes with in our what do you call it, business ethics and culture, and our ladies and gentlemen try to adopt it. The only thing is that now we need to educate the customer on how to work with it. We have a lot of We have a lot of segments in Oman that are 100% sustainable, even in their own life. But it is also takes a lot of education. It takes a lot of government legislations in terms of recycling, in terms of there's a lot of public awareness, like reduce water consumption, reduce power consumption, reduce. But it's an no matter what you do, if the individual don't have it themselves, then it affects everybody. Then it affects the generations to come, because you're talking alpha generation and Z generation. But we in the hotel are focusing a lot on our activities on the kids, where we do a lot of programs, especially now, you know, the staycations are all over. So our kids' activities are always environmentally focused, where we, for example, we have issues of the saving the turtle. We have a lot of turtles in Oman, and things. So turtles get affected by fishermen and by, you know, a lot of the different undesirable habits that actually have a lot of turtles that need saving and they need rehab. So we engage kids now in our RITS programs to do that, and we certify. We engage kids in, for example, beach cleaning activities and so many different educational things that where the kid feels they have achieved something. So at least we rely on the generation Z, in our opinion, right now, to actually cement the or support the 2040 government vision and the tours in us to maintain, to be responsible in the way you conduct business. As far as our staff are concerned, as far as the department is concerned, yes, we follow the rules and regulations in terms of the market, the Marriott initiatives. At the same time, we are very much proud of hoping that we are going to be the leading hotel, particularly being a palace in Oman. We are, like, everybody looks at what we do, the initiatives, and we are definitely geared to be the leading hotel in every aspect of incorporating the sustainability in our efforts. As far as guests are concerned, yes, we engage them, because as Brian was saying about the engagement with the community and our effect to the community, we do a lot of work with that, and at the same time we engage guests in, for example, 2 days, when was it? 3 days ago, we had the turtle. 2 months ago, this beach had not had a turtle coming to it for over 30 years. And boom, all of a sudden a turtle 2 months ago come and lays eggs. And it was one of the guys that paid attention. So the marks, you know, he realized it must be a turtle. And we checked, and yes, we found 115 eggs, and he had to remove them from the place because the turtle was looking for a place to lay eggs. And we had to remove the eggs to save them, put them in a drier area. And just 2 nights ago, we had 115 turtles going to the sea. So we engaged a lot of guests in it, and the kids came in because we timed the time. So we do a lot of these educational things for kids, and our simply put, our focus actually on the kids.
Thank you.
That's how we do it. You know, that's the way forward, I guess.
Thank you so much, Nabil. We really enjoy this story. Thank you so much. My next question will go to Vebjørn, actually. Do you think that consumers are ready to pay more for sustainable alternatives?
Absolutely. Goes without doubt at all. We've already seen a change in the market. We are getting more and more questions from customers asking about what we do. How sustainable are we, and what is our efforts, and what is our values and missions and all of that. So I'm 100% sure that if you have a completely sustainable product, you're able to get paid more for that than the opposite.
Thank you very much. And the same question goes to Brian, because you have a completely different, I guess, clientele across, you know, France and the Netherlands and the UK. So what is your views on this? Do you think that people across Europe are ready to pay a little bit more?
Yeah, they are. And we already see it. And I think it does differ between location. It also differs between culture, I think. But by and large, all of our guests and our clients are actively asking us, like Vebjørn, like you mentioned, they want to know what we're doing. I think given the past 12 months, people are now more than ever conscious of where they spend their money and in travel sense, who they spend their time with. So even across not just leisure and business travelers as well, we engage with a lot of corporations to provide rates for business travelers to come and stay with us. And as part of that process, there's an agreement, and you need to go through an RFP, and they all ask now, what are your sustainability credentials? What is your ethos? What are you doing for the greater good? And they base their decision or their buying decision processes on that information. So for us, it's an absolute no-brainer right now that we have to focus more on it. And I do believe that people will be happy to even pay a bit more to know that they're spending their money in the right place.
Yeah, I could agree with you. And Nabil, what's happening in your side of the world? Because you have a lot of kind of influx tourism from America and other parts of the world. So do you think that people are ready to pay more?
I'm not sure about paying more. We already are sort of among the, so paying more it's based on your brand, based on luxury, based on this. People are very much environmentally and sustainably conscious. I understand the RFPs and you have to demonstrate that you got all these different initiatives in your property in order for you to be able to at least get the business travel and things. However, simply people who are environmentally conscious and feel responsible for where they spend their money in a place that actually does good for, that does focus on role, will come to you. Otherwise, they just won't come. They will find another alternative. It doesn't mean they'll spend more. They want to spend responsibly. So if they feel that they're spending the right, you are doing the right initiative, and they come and see you and you demonstrate that officially, or you demonstrate that spontaneously, it's just part of your life, part of your ethos in the establishment, they'll be happy to come back. I don't know, but yeah, I'm not saying no, they won't spend, but simply eventually they'll end up saying, look, you're not responsible, we're not going to come to you.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, it's because there will be other alternatives. If you're not up to it, there are other people who are not going to sit there, more responsible people than whoever is not responsible. You know what I mean? So there will be alternatives.
Diana, if I may, I have an example from Svalbard, actually, from Spitsbergen, where they operate. There's a lot of operators doing snowmobile tours with snowmobiles, right? In 2019, the company I used to work for, we decided to buy a small number of electric snowmobiles, only a few numbers of them. They were like 10 times more expensive than the ordinary snowmobiles, so we obviously had to price the activity much higher than the traditional one. And we saw that customers had no questions with buying this product. Maybe 3 times more expensive snowmobile trip. You got the exact same trip, you got to see the exact same nature and all of that same trip, but 3 times more expensive because it was an electric powered snowmobile and more sustainable, right? So there are, I know that there is willingness in the market to pay more for a more sustainable product.
Thank you. So the travel industry has been on standstill and it's really hard. You're in the red and it's time to build back better. I think it's hard, probably hence I will see this as a fantastic opportunity, but right now it's not pretty. I'd like to direct this question to Brian because you are not just a rock star, but also you are a creative marketeer and you have been instrumental to implement this sustainability across all the properties. So how would you build back better?
I think it's a really relevant point right now, is that, yes, the last 12 months have been devastating in a way. We went through this whole roller coaster ride of, we closed the hotels, we had 0 revenue, no income, and we had to cut back, we had to let people go. This was the sad stories. But when you look at the situation we're in now, I think we're in a great position where we can start almost from scratch. And it's almost not even building back, it's almost starting again. And it's a great opportunity to reset everything that you've been doing. So to reset your sales and marketing expenses, to reset your operation, reconsider what it was you were doing before. And if there's any blessing out of the past 12 months, it's given us time to do that. And I think it's been really interesting for us as a company to look at what we were doing. And maybe we were doing certain things simply because we'd done them before, but not actually questioning the status quo of, well, why were we doing that? So, and from a sustainability point of view, building back and being more green, you could argue that actually in March last year, we went completely green. We switched off all the lights, we switched off the air conditioning, we drained the pool, and we locked the doors, and we were not consuming anything, But as we build back, we're doing it in tiers. So now we're putting in place what's essential, and it's a really great way to look at your business from that point of view. It's forced, I don't think we would have chosen to do that, but the fact that we're in that situation, for me, has been a great opportunity. From a marketing point of view, great. We stopped all that advertising spend that we were doing. We reset everything, and now we're looking at, well, what do we need to do? Where do we need to really spend, and what's essential to our business and building that business? So it's an opportunity.
Absolutely. And I mean, the good news is the fact that we all had 18 months of training of being online. So we now have the ability to research better, to look better, to actually find out about what companies are doing more sustainably and actually make better choices. So you're completely right about cutting onto, what is the 80% of the advertising that doesn't work and the 20% that actually does work. So yeah, absolutely. I mean, the same question goes to you. I can answer this, Vebjørn, because almost there. I will get to this by the end of the talk.
Oh, that's fine.
Norway is being a destination of choice because of the absolutely natural beauty and, kind of the country itself, it's just magic.
Yeah.
And the natural resources, I mean, you have fantastic sustainability stories that in the top side of your country, you have now pretty much completely regenerated all the fish that it has been, I wouldn't call it replanting, but reinstated into that area, including whales and dolphins and the lot. So you have fantastic stories in Norway and great care from government down. So how can you build back better?
Well, first of all, it costs a lot of money. Fortunately for us, we have owners with a very long-term strategy with their investments. That helps a lot. That being said, in Norway, we have some controversial stuff also. We have the oil, that's obviously not sustainable. And then the fish farming industry is big. So, I mean, everything is not completely green in Norway, even if it might seem like it from abroad. But for us and for the company, we've spent the pandemic period to try to reinvent and reinforce our sustainability efforts, because we know how important that's going to be for us moving forward. And fortunately, we've had quite a lot of good support also from the Norwegian government with different programs on how to I mean, that encourages us to actually start this work or continue this work that we have been doing. So yeah, I would say that we've been spending this time on. First of all, this is actually the first year in history that we're reporting on the 3 Ps. So in our year-end accountings, we're not only showing our numbers, we are showing our emissions and our sustainability work. This thing about equality, even though Norway might be perceived as a country where we have full equality, both between genders and sexuality and salaries and all of that, we have done this effort this year to try to find out where are we actually. We believe we are at a good place, but is that a fact? So we've been spending a lot of time this last year just trying to map out our business, what we're actually doing, and what is our complete footprint, and where do we need to change. And I think we're almost there. We know what we should do and where we should put in the effort moving forward. And we wouldn't have been there if it hadn't been for the pandemic. So at least there's something good coming out of it, I would say.
Thank you very much. So Nabil, I would love to know from your point of view, in terms of tourism, what is the least sustainable aspect of tourism, and how can this be made more sustainable in the future? You talk about food waste, but what else is there? You are mute. You are mute. You need to unmute.
Sorry, I lost the screen there, and that's why I was talking, and you were saying you're mute, you're mute. You said something about what is it that was the most least sustainable in the tourism?
Yes. What is the least aspect of tourism, and how can this be made more sustainable in the future? And you talked about food waste, which is a really good example. So, but what else is there?
There's a lot. It's habits. I mean, if we as let's say hospitality industry in general, or even the tourism industry in the country, like now adopting all these sustainable, for example, sustainable what do you call it, inns now in the localities or in the different villages in Oman. What we want to do is establish strict, we really have to have a top-down driven strict measures in terms of like building codes and all that stuff that we do for sustainability. That's a must in this part of the world, because it's actually all a mindset. And when we talked about COVID let us basically know that we had so many bad habits that we just, because we got used to and it's been done, and it made us rethink and sort of set our minds on how we think about things in order for us to not just be profitable or to minimize, to move from the red to the green, but also at the same time, how can we sustain this in the future, and what are the new initiatives that can be taken with regards to tourism. Education, and basically, look, when you go visit a country, you either any country that has adopted this, you will basically feel as a visitor, you'll have to conform. In here, if us as people of Oman or the Gulf or whatever tourism country, if we don't demonstrate to the visitor that we are 100% committed, nothing's going to work. In fact, visitors won't come to us. Responsible tourists won't come. Very simple. We should avoid the mass tourism element, because you know what, there will be travel in a few years, things will go back to normal with the advances and everything. As far as we're concerned, we have to demonstrate basically, I mean, okay, some people will talk about airlines, some people will talk about slow travel, so many different things about tourism, because there's a carbon footprints everywhere that you can see. However, it's simply mindset and behavior. If we mean it, we live it, it's part of our values, we demonstrate it, and then people will follow. Visitors, whoever is responsible tourists will come and will definitely conform. We care about heritage, we care about our culture, we care about our environment, engage tourists. That's when people will say, okay, and that will be not just us, that applies everywhere around the world.
Thank you. So thank you very much. I mean, I think the elephant in the room for tourism, and in fact for all industry, is about 1.5 degrees. And this is what is our goal, and should be each one of us goals and the goals as businesses to actually trying to tackle this by 2030.
2025 actually now.
Sorry?
People are, our targets in here is 2025. We should achieve a lot of goals, trust me, which are very difficult.
Absolutely, but we need to really try to move the abatement curve for carbon as soon as possible, and this is not going to be easy. Definitely, nobody will be ready by 2025. It will be a dream come true, but I don't think it's going to happen. So I'd like to ask this question to Brian to start with, because I know firsthand the work that you've done about reducing carbon emissions and looking at carbon, which is the love and hate kind of greenhouse gas. So can you tell us a little more about carbon strategy, and what is your viewpoints about, you know, kind of when we look at tourism, the participation obviously from a hotel built area, obviously versus you know, transportation, jets and so on, is completely different. So from where you stand, how can you actually get to dust reductions, and what are the targets and goals that you set towards achieving this 1.5 degrees?
I mean, I think it's incredibly difficult to justify the carbon that's produced really by travel, particularly luxury travel. And when you get onto the subject of private jets and private travel in that respect, which many of our clients do use at the end of the day, I think that's an incredibly difficult thing to justify from a sustainability point of view. But then, I think I compare it to things like single or private car ownership. When I travel the roads in this country, I see traffic jams full of cars with one person in them, and then I see a bus with 2 people on it, And I think this is a mentality we just have to change. One thing that has been really noticeable over the past year is that people are now much happier to explore closer to home. And hopefully that will maybe reduce people's desire to travel so far. I don't think it will eliminate it by any stretch, because our natural desire is to explore and to discover. But me, for example, I haven't explored half of the UK, these beautiful places in Wales, Scotland, north of England, or down south in Cornwall and Devon. These are incredible areas that I haven't even explored, and I really ought to, rather than thinking about I need to jump on a plane. So I don't know, can it be justified? Can it be offset? I don't know if it really can. There are certain programs, we've looked into in the past, whether we can plant a number of trees for every traveller that comes and stays with us, or can we add that cost of that to a traveller's bill and so on. But I think it's a really difficult one. I'm not sure I really know the answer of whether we can justify it or how we can really reduce the carbon, other than encouraging people to just be more responsible. And I think it's a mindset, going back to Nabil's point about how it's a generation thing. We have to educate, and that's really the only way forward, I think.
Thank you very much. And I'm conscious of time, so I would like to really quickly talk to Camille. So Camille, you have something brief to share, so I'd like to pass the microphone to you for a second.
Well, I just wanted to share, as a travel advisor and a travel agency owner, in our network in Virtuoso, we just actually had a forum last week on sustainable tourism with Jessica Upchurch. And so our agency, we're very conscious about sustainable tourism and ecotourism. And Brian, I've worked closely with his hotels, and I can say, for the one in Paris and the one in Amsterdam, what they do with renewable energy. Most clients nowadays are asking for us to send them to hotels that they feel are giving back to the local economy and are very sustainable. So one of the things that we've developed is, with the hotels that we are presenting to our clients as an option for their stay, we are contacting directly the hotels, the salespeople, asking them a million questions. What do you do for sustainability? In Amsterdam, recycling the soaps. In Paris, the way that you can control your temperature of your rooms, where you have the choice. Do you want it when you leave, turn your timer off? Everything is so high tech. We present this to the clients. Now, clients will choose a property based on this, believe it or not, and it can sell, it can really close a sale, because the higher end luxury clients are definitely looking into ecotourism and sustainability. So I just wanted to, as a travel advisor and agency owner, let people know it's a great way to close a sale, whether it's in a hotel or on a river cruise ship. Look into what they're doing to help the environment, buying local produce and serving that in the restaurants. It makes a big difference in closing a sale.
Absolutely, and thank you so much for your contribution. The butterfly mark, which is a very easy way for people to click on and see what they do. We've got 23 million interactions with butterfly mark a year. Is crazy. People really, totally with you. People really want to know about this. And thank you very much for your contribution on this. My last question, if you can give us a piece of advice, and I'd like to start with you, Nabil, one piece of advice to everybody about how can the participants can be more sustainable and build back better. You are mute.
Simple. It's for me, walk the talk. If we talk sustainability is very sexy, we all talk sustainability, and we all blame, some people blame airlines, we blame others, we do this, we do that. If each and everyone looks within and we walk the talk, I think we are going to go to hopefully a more sustainable future for the next generations to come.
Thank you so much. The same question to Brian, please.
So yeah, I think really the one thing is, I think there's no doubt that it's a business necessity going forward. And my one tip to really take advantage of that is resource. You know, you need to put resources behind what you want to achieve. You know, we learned that for a while. We had great goals, but we didn't really have the structure in place to support them. And the only way to do it is resource. And you have to put your time and your money ultimately behind it.
Thank you, Brian. And last word, Vebjørn, please.
Thank you. No, I think it's, first of all, I would say get your house in order. I mean, first, know your business, know your carbon footprint, know how much emissions your operations are responsible for. Get insight into your own operations first, analyze them, and then set a strategy on how to go greener, you know, because it's not an option, it's a necessity. We all know it. We don't have any time to waste, so just go ahead and do it straight away.
Thank you very much. And I'd like to go to the Q&As because there are so many questions. So I hope you are ready. So this is not the last piece of advice and you sign off. It's the last piece of advice and start answering questions. There was a really interesting question here from Julian. Do you think that there is an overemphasis on the impact of air travel versus aspects of travel in general? I don't know who would like to answer that, Brian, Vebjørn, or Nabil.
I mean, I think just from my point of view, I think air travel just gets the focus, but I think there is an overemphasis. You know, we should be looking at whether we're getting in a car, how far we're driving. And ultimately, you know, let's think about how we can, I don't know, you can't substitute this for air travel, but to walk, you know. One thing I always say to everybody when they come to London is, don't get on the tube or get in a taxi, because you can walk London much easier than you think. And you look at a tube map and you go, okay, I've got to go from here to here, follow the dots. You could walk that overground in 10 minutes, but no one takes the time to actually consider that or look at it. So I don't know, yeah, air travel gets the focus, of course, always. And I think private jet travel absolutely gets a focus, and quite rightly so. But we need to look at all aspects of travel, not just air travel.
Thank you very much. Can you give us any tips about how to enhance the sustainability practices while visiting a country or a destination? Any good plans to educate clients? This is from Maite. Whoever wants to take that question, please. Vebjørn?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was just trying to read the question again to see if I understood it correctly. But
any tips on how to enhance the sustainability practices while visiting a country or a destination?
Well, I guess it's different from different parts of the world. Visitors coming to Norway, they will probably not find very much to put the finger on, because we are actually very good in Norway with recycling all our what's it called, trash and bottles and all of that. But I mean, education of clients is essential, in my opinion. What we call citizen science, to try to involve customers and guests in our sustainability efforts is always popular with our guests. For example, every time we see a piece of litter in the ocean when we're out on a boat, our guides will always stop and pick up that part of plastic or whatever, and the guest often takes part in telling the story to their friends and family and everyone. Now we've been to Norway, and we even got the opportunity to clean a fjord because we saw something bobbing about in the water. So I'm not sure if that answered the question, but yeah.
I'll just maybe add something to the education, which I think is vital. There are some great programs out there, like Positive Luxury that we work with, the Green Globe certification, BREEAM is something we work with on our construction projects from day one. you know, take advantage of these and use them, and then communicate about them and shout about it, because unless you tell people about what you're doing, they're not going to know. And education is key. So be proud about what you do achieve. And that's something we've learned about. We were doing a lot of stuff, and literally internally we didn't know about it until we actually collected it together. And then you need to shout about it. That's for sure.
Thank you, Brian. This is from Javier.
Just one thing I got to tell you.
Nabil.
I hadn't been to Canada for a long time because I had rented the house, and then my wife and I were there, and they implemented a new system for the garbage collection. It took me, lucky we had a good neighbor, our neighbor is like our friend, to teach us. It's education. It's amazing how, like, Tuesday, it's like, what do you call it? Garden waste day. Monday is whatever waste day. And if you don't do it, by the way, if you put the wrong thing, you get fined. You know, so also this is one of those things that education is essential, but it starts, for example, we'll start on the website. It'll start on how accessible your site is, or your country is from accessibility. So that demonstrates the seriousness of the destination in adopting sustainability practices and being serious about it. So education is very simple. Read the signs.
Yeah. And I would like to add one thing about which goes also into the communication part, communicating with honesty, being honest about what you do. One thing is the good things you do, but also the bad things. I mean, don't lie, don't exaggerate, be honest, completely honest. Also about the parts of your business that is not sustainable, because everybody deserves to know. I think that's vital.
That is a really key takeaway. Thank you for that. I was saying there's a message from Javier. He says, from DMC point of view, if your responsibility is to know the CO2 footprint and damage created with our itineraries and compensated with local, national, or international projects. I don't know who would like to take this.
You mean, what do you mean? Like I have to measure the CO2 emission of a vehicle going from A to B in a destination, and then ask you, I make you pay a fine for it or something?
Not a fine, but
pay a fee?
Carbon fee, yes.
Well, maybe I can see that in the future, but I don't know now. Okay, I look at our part of the world. I don't see it happening in the next 10 years. There's no, I mean, Brian talked about people going on traffic, the traffic jams and everything. There are countries that don't even have pedestrian walks. They're all cars. Yeah. So, you know, so it takes, there's a lot of infrastructure, a lot of legislation, a lot of stuff. You know what? It's maybe a good target to look at, but to sort of impose it at a certain point in time. But we got to be prepared for it.
Yeah, I think it can be choice. I think, you know, I always feel that luxury is choice at the end of the day, and I think if you offer a traveler the opportunity to do that, they can choose to do it. But yeah, you're right. Forcing it on someone is a different thing. I'm not sure that the global traveling audience is ready for that. But I do think providing the option for people to be able to offset their carbon when they travel, I think is a great thing to do.
Thank you.
Yeah.
There is another question from Evangelina, just got moved, from Evangeline. I think it's always important to look at all aspects of sustainability in terms of operations. We think about local suppliers of the destinations for transport and local experiences. We think about the food being used in the hotel, having water glasses available rather than bottled waters. Any marketing materials that we are able to reuse, or that could be digital. There are small things that go a long way. Do you agree with this? Whoever wants to take that. Do you think that this is good, important?
100%. Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's a good 360 look. You have to look at everything you're doing. I mean, you can't
exactly 360. Yeah.
For the biggest impact, cover everything, and that's a great list actually from Evangelina. I might copy that.
Thank you.
We're actually having an initiative to do our own water to reduce plastic. Yeah,
that's great. Yeah, that is really, really good. The turtles will be grateful for that.
Yeah.
what can we do to give credibility to all the sustainability stamps and certifications? There are many that are great and valid, but also there are a lot that are just marketing. Consumers are catching on that. It's ultimately hurts the initiative. So, and it was another one that actually talk about certifications. Forgive me, there's so many messages, which is great.
I think there was one about, yeah, how important and how much emphasis should you put on certification?
Yes, absolutely. Brian, you're there, so you can start with that.
Yeah, I mean, I touched on it earlier that I think that's a great tool for education. But absolutely right, you've got to find the right one. I mean, there are so many out there, and I can't tell you how many emails I get on a weekly, even daily basis from new marketing organization that started a new award, in some part of the world. And we have to filter through and find which ones are relevant to our guests. Which ones are they going to see? Which ones are they going to understand? And which ones are they going to believe? Because it's all very well the fact that we can buy a logo or a certification, but we have to make sure that the work behind that is there to make sure that it's true. There has to be processes in place to make sure that we are achieving the levels that we need to achieve. Otherwise, it doesn't mean anything.
Thank you very much. And we are almost running out of time. So I would like to thank you all for your time and thank everybody for tuning in and participating. It's so nice to actually see a webinar with everyone in it, in terms of seeing the faces. It's so rewarding. So thank you for that, for not hiding behind the name. And I'd like to pass this on to Gemma or Michaela. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Diana, so much for such a fruitful, productive, moderated session. And of course, to our distinguished panelists, Nabil, Vebjørn, and Brian, for all of your invaluable insights and perspectives on what is a very important and relevant conversation. And I'd also like just to extend a thank you to Natalie from Positive Luxury for all her help behind the scenes and helping shape this ConnecTALKS too. We will be distributing the recording of the session in the coming days, so don't worry, there was so much in there to take away, so there will be a recording coming to you shortly. So this marks the end of the session.